to Quite Contrary Flower Farm. We're a small family-owned farm about an hour east of Melbourne in Australia. Today we are going to do our first ever farm walk. So what we'll talk about is what we've just done in June, and then we'll talk about what we've got coming up in July, including if we expect to have anything flowering. Spoiler alert, we probably won't. That won't be till a bit later in the year. So at the moment we are standing out at our brand new peony patch. You can see there's not a whole lot going on here at the moment, but this went in just last month and we've planted it out with a whole different range of peonies. These won't flower for 3 to 5 years. You take the buds off so that they establish better root systems, but we will let each one have at least one flower just so we know what we've got growing. So if you come along, we'll go around to the other parts of the farm. This is our trial rose garden. We planted these out last year. They were all bought as pots. They're doing pretty well. We're pretty happy with most of them here. You can see though that we need to remulch this area, and we'll also be pruning all of our roses in mid-July. Some of them are still flowering, which is pretty interesting. They should all be dormant right now, but they're not. Not a big problem, but yeah, not much to see here either. This area has undergone the biggest transformation this last month. This is where all of our dahlias were growing, and this was the total of our farm last year. So we had 8 beds of 30 metres, and it was where we grew everything, all of our annuals, all of our dahlias, but this year everything is shifting about. So you can see we've already started planting our new bare root roses. So this is where they're all going to go this year. I think we have 200 or 300 coming, so they'll fill out these 4 beds. And the other big jobs that we've got to do in this area is we're going to have to mulch everything, so that'll be a lot of shoveling and wheelbarrows. And I'll also be taking all these tyres away because we don't need them out here if we're not going to be having down weed mat and tarps. These 2 beds have also been replanted this past month. They were zinnias on this side, dahlia seedlings on this side, so they've all gone out, been mulched in, and now we've put in our perennial plants. So these are all plants that we're trialling to see if we like them, and if we do, we'll either divide them or take cuttings so that we can build up our stock and then add them into what we can offer everyone. So the funny thing though is, if you look down here, all of these are little baby dahlias that have come up at the completely wrong time of year. Usually we don't plant dahlias till after frost because the frost will kill them, but we have thousands and thousands of these little seedlings everywhere that we are going to have to get rid of. So that's another little job. At this stage they just come out really easily. So when we get more mulching, mowing on top of our weeds again, that'll be the first thing to happen. These beds are also completely planted out in June. We've got 1.5 beds of foxgloves, and we've also put out all of our ranunculus seedlings, our backup ranunculus forms, which are the bigger ones, and some anemones that we're trialling. We have a lot of different colours of ranunculus, but we're only doing white anemones. They were a bit of a last minute impulse purchase when I was buying my backup ranunculus corms, but they seem to have all come up really well, so looking forward to having them flower in early spring. This is our David Austin rose patch. You can see it's looking pretty sparse at the moment because the roses are dormant. We have a lot to do out here through July, so we'll prune everything. We need to remulch. If you have a look at any of the pathways, you'll see that the chickens have been really great and spread our mulch everywhere. So we'll be raking that up and then deciding if we need to do new mulch. And there's a few varieties in here that we haven't really enjoyed or that haven't ever performed, so they're probably going to get dug out and replanted somewhere else on the farm where they can be good if they're good, but not taking up prime real estate right in our beautiful rose patch. Just a few little notes about our roses. This one is Windermere, and she's usually a beautiful cream colour, but in the cool weather she's turned really pink, and now she's looking very like our Alnwick rose, which is just a bit interesting. So this rose here, this beautiful yellow, is Molyneux. You can see that it makes quite a hedge. It can be used as a hedging rose. What we've found with Molyneux is that it doesn't really seem to do very much throughout spring and summer, and then it gets to the time when it should be dormant and it ends up with heaps of flowers that aren't particularly good quality. So Molyneux is another one that's probably going to get rehomed. We're going to put it in as a hedge and a windbreak somewhere, so it can still be beautiful, but we're just not going to use it for cut flowers anymore. We are at the entrance to our new old flower field where all the annuals are going to be growing this year. And as you can see, it's been a bit wet. This is partly because of all the earthworks that have been done, putting in this new dam that we have here, but also just because this field is really wet. That's why we put in the dam, to try and keep some of this water away from the flowers. But as you'll see, as we go further in, it dries off a bit. So this is the low point. We're working on building it up. That's what all the big mounds of dirt are. But we can't get anything in here while it's this wet, so that's probably going to wait until spring to be fixed at this point. We're standing in front of our first planting for 2021. So these are all our cool flowers that have gone in over the last 2 months. There's not a whole lot to see here. They're putting on some growth, but it's pretty slow going through winter because of the colder temperatures and the reduced daylight hours. But they'll pick up now as the days lengthen. So next month there should be quite a lot of greenery happening. This is our driveway that we've just put in to get easier access. That's going to get sown with grass, so hopefully that won't be looking like such a mud pit next month when we check back in as well. You can see on this side we've stolen a bit of extra space for our sweet peas. Originally we weren't going to do any sweet peas this year, and now we have 3 beds of them. But that's okay, it'll be interesting to see how they go. This bed here is all of Mum's sweet peas that she started, and we've got 2 different trellising systems happening. So you've got your standard trellis, just let them clamber up. If you look closely, you'll be able to see that they have some skewers, just helping them get onto that trellis and staying supported while they do so. All of these sweet peas were started inside, I think in Mum's bathroom, and then they've been transplanted out, whereas all of my sweet peas have been direct sown. So we'll be comparing which method is better as well. People say sweet peas don't like to be transplanted, but to be honest, I'm a bit jealous of Mum's sweet peas because they look much better than mine do, and they're the same age. But the proof will be once they start flowering what is better. And then if you look at this trellising system, it's quite different, and we've actually got 2 slightly different ones. I don't know too much about this. This is Mum's experiment. I'll get her to talk about it, but basically instead of pinching your sweet peas and having branching flowers, you just have one main stem that grows up, and in theory you end up with fewer sweet peas, but they're much bigger. So we'll see what happens with those. I believe the technique is used in Japan by sweet pea show growers. So just a bit of fun. We're just going to see if it's worth the extra effort. And then we've got yet another sweet pea bed behind me. That was only direct sown last week because all of my original sweet peas that I was most excited for were eaten by mice. So I went and bought a few more. Didn't have any more space for them because I'd already direct sown every other sweet pea I had. So we've set up yet another trellis. But this area here will be our second planting of cool flowers. So they're the flowers that start growing through or start flowering in spring. We're going to be sowing those this weekend, so the first weekend of July. So I'll have those in the greenhouse to show you next month. Thank you for joining us on our July farm walk. We'll be back again next month so you can see how things grow and change. And we'll try and do a few other videos in between of various things that are happening. If you like our videos, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at QC Flower Farm. See you next time.